All right, guys, in this video, I'm first gonna break down my rationale and why I went ahead and finally purchased a seated calf raise machine as I've kind of been thinking about it for some time. I'll also give you guys a brutally honest review on this particular one. Was not sent to me free for review. I did go ahead and spend money on this. Wasn't a lot of money, which is one of the good things about this. It was kind of mini gamble, but wasn't too expensive. The cost for this was like roughly $130. It was one of, if not the cheapest one on Amazon. It seemed to be the one that had the highest ratings. People bought the most of it, so I'll get into more why I got this one. Jumping into the rationale of why I picked this up. I've been learning a lot just about having machines and stations personally, about my own interests and my own training, that I'm trying to get those machines that were those missing links that I was doing a lot more in the commercial gym. One of these being a seated calf raise machine. I've been doing more calves, and certainly you arguably say, well, there's a million things in here you can do to work your calves. You don't need this thing. Of course, that's true, but by having machines such as this, or even like my leg extension, leg curl, other machines I purchased, I pretty much have never regretted them. And I've always been kind of in the gambling territory about like, is it gonna be worth it or not? This one was like that too, but I knew in the past, just going to the gym, that if I did have this would be something I would take advantage of. And for those of you guys, many of you already know this, but if you don't know, one of the benefits of a seated calf raise machine, and it really kind of hits the soleus muscle, and I'll get into if this machine actually did pay off as we go along here, really hits the soleus a little more so than the gastrocnemius, these top two kind of calf muscles up here that traditionally we're thinking of. But if you really want to build kind of more of that size, that thickness in calves, this is always one that many people have touted as like one of the best exercises you can do. So that was one part of it. The other part of it, other than just being something you had really no excuse, it's easier to kind of jump on and do calves in general. That's one thing, but also it's just kind of fun. It's one of those things, just like any lot of machines, it's kind of fun to jump on, hit it, and there's not really pretty limited excuses to really not do this. And also since it's right in front of you, you're more likely to do it more often. And calves are definitely one of those body parts you can do a lot more frequently, not overtrain them. They respond a little more with higher repetitions because they're more of an endurance type 1 type of fiber. Everyone's a little different though, so I digress. That's kind of the rationale of why I was thinking about why I wanted one. Still was kind of a gamble if I was gonna do it, but then when I started looking at actual calf machines and pulling the trigger on them, there seemed to be a pretty big gap on super cheap ones to really highly expensive commercial grade units, and I wasn't necessarily willing to drop, say, $5 grand on a commercial grade machine, or say even like $2 or $3 grand. This thing only costs like 130 bucks, almost the same cost as like some of the attachments that I cover that go on squat racks on this channel, and it definitely seemed like Titan had one, and there were some other reviews I saw. Most people are pretty favorable about this, but I didn't know if they were just being like paid reviews or not, so I don't really know. But they all had the same issue where this has got weights on it, but it's still, you don't see the sway as apparent. It's just kind of a slower sway. This thing is super flimsy. So when I take these weights off, you can really just see the shake test of how flimsy this thing really is. And it seemed like the Titan had the exact same issue. They all seem like they're basically the same function. And the Titan, I think, was like $100 more than this. Not knocking Titan specifically. There's a lot of other companies that were in like the 200s, and this was 130. There was a cheaper one than this, but this does have a couple little minor quality of life features. And I thought, just based on GMWDs, I didn't mention that's the company I bought. I've covered a lot of this stuff in the channel, you guys know that. And I've said before in the past, some of their stuff has actually surprised me in the quality and what they are and what it is, and their build quality for the price. This one is definitely an exception. The build quality is definitely not there. When I got the box, came very quickly, in a really kind of compact, small rectangular box. You guys will see this. Very easy to put together, no problems there. But as I started unboxing it and feeling how light the parts are, which maybe is kind of a plus here. It's got wheels, which is nice. Even here, I feel like I broke something. I don't know. I heard some sort of crack. It is extremely light. I mean, you can pick this up with one hand, move it around, manhandle it, which is nice. Doesn't take up a giant footprint. But when I started playing with the parts and feeling it in my hand, I started realizing that, yeah, this thing is, you kind of get what you're paid for. I would not want to pay, say, $200 and have this type of kind of setup and feel to it. So I expected it to be cheap. It was cheap. Wasn't expecting a whole lot, but as I'm looking at the reviews and the videos, I'm realizing like this thing is pretty much basic in its assembly and what it needs to do and do well. So I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense to go ahead and purchase one that was like maybe $70 to $100 or even $200 more than this for some very simple basic function. Other little quality of life features this thing has, you can use, like a lot of other ones, you can use Olympic plates or the 1-inch plates. It has a spot here for bands, which is, if you notice in at least the older pictures, the pictures on the Amazon site and other reviewers, the band peg attachment is a little different, but that was something that actually did attract me. It's cool, I probably won't really use it. I don't like this new version with the little holes down there. I'm not sure why they did that. I like the one they had before, but maybe there's some sort of functional difference to that. I like the slant and the grip that these have. Other models that I saw out there do not have that. The seat, while it's comfortable, is, again, nothing really to write home about. Definitely enough adjustment points. That was something else that gave me some peace of mind. I figured I can probably at least find the angle that's gonna fit me fine. These feel super cheap, super flimsy. I would definitely try and replace these, but even that, I saw this and I could see the reviews that people are saying the same thing. But it's more of a comfort issue. I can always upgrade this if I want to. And my thought was, again, that this is more of like an entry-level thing. So all that to say, parts, everything else, very inexpensive. Wasn't expecting a whole lot. But now the main thing was, or is, how does it actually feel and function? So loading the weights on, I will say this thing goes up to 500 pounds, but I will not need to go that heavy. And especially with something like this, if you go a little bit slower or the rep range gets a little higher, you're gonna see you're not gonna need that heavy of a weight, especially with this. Now the biggest downplay, because you had this sway, is that as you're doing the reps, there is this, it's not totally kind of locked in. Now you can make a case where like, this helps you kind of stabilize both legs a little more, work them a little bit equally, which I think is true. And the more I've been doing this, I have been kind of keeping it more in line. You can't fall too far off track, but still it's annoying enough. The first time you did it, it feels like you're on like some sort of carnival ride trying to keep something, you know, totally straight. The biggest thing this has going for it though, is that it is hard. Definitely, you feel it where you want to feel it. You feel it exactly in the middle spot of like your calves, your soleus. And there's a distinct difference to other, say, standing calf raise devices or exercises that are out there. So that was the thing that more gets me more pleasantly surprised. At the end of the day, it would have been nice if this was softer and if this thing was softer and this thing was on a set track where it's not kind of guiding back and forth, this thing would be great. I mean, as far as what it does. So all that being said, I actually do not regret this. As cheap as this feels, the actual function is there. And it was a gamble in my brain that kind of paid off. Now, is this something I'm gonna keep forever? Well, likely not. What this actually did do was realize to me that this is something I'm gonna be using in the future. Definitely training calves more often, more frequently, just having this thing around me. I've only had it for like a week. But I could see myself getting in kind of snob territory on getting rid of this and saving and investing maybe in a more expensive one down the line. But with that being said, I think that would be more of a luxury item. I think it wouldn't really feel that different. It's just something that this does the job. I don't think it's really gonna hit the muscles a little bit differently, it's more out of comfort. And I already said this, but one of the benefits of this thing being such a cheap piece of metal is that it is very easy to kind of manhandle and move around the gym fairly easy. So you'll probably see this in a lot of shots, it's kind of different spots of the gym. I know I'll be using this a lot more. Hopefully it pays off over time. We'll kind of keep the calves in the forefront here. That's it though, guys. If you got any questions, comments, feedback, let me know. If there's any other machines like this you guys want to see, definitely check them out. But I'll see you guys in the next video.